Hi, I'm Trey, and this is my channel, Trey's Myths and Tunes on YouTube and Odyssey. And today, my talk is called How Hidden Fears Show Up as Confusion. What? And games without frontiers. At war with our fear. Hidden fears show up as confusion when a subject is brought up, or they will insist you change the subject. The invisible ones that control us when we're afraid. The Archons, the Demiurge, the Dracos, the Anunnakis, and the Zetas, along with a person's ancestors, like your grandma, possibly hiding in all of your fears. Okay, so every time you get all worried and in a tizzy and upset and then the fear prevents you from doing something, I couldn't possibly make YouTube videos because they will know who I am. They will find out. Okay? Every time you stop yourself because you're afraid, so afraid, well, it could be that it's not the real you, as I've said many times. Um, it's when you're confused, when you're in a state of confusion, the hidden fears. For me, it may be changing my routine, leaving, doing something different. I'm double fixed sign here. I can become completely rigid, stuck in the rut of a fix of this idea that this little cannabis buzz or this little cup of coffee and then uploading now or whatever can just be this wonderful cure all when nothing is a magic bullet, even cannabis. And cannabis comes pretty close sometimes, but without tolerance breaks, without stepping outside, without taking a look from a further perspective, taking a step back, you really can't ever see your hidden fears. Because your hidden fears, they're called hidden fears because they're invisible, like as I've said before, and they're like the blind spot in the rear view mirror. It's only when you step outside of your routine, if you're in a cozy spot, it's only when you, it's like I say, the reason why we need the dark ones at all was not to control the world and make us their robot slaves. It was because we need once in a while a pitchfork so that, or else we'll just take it for granted and not improve ourselves. Humans can be so lazy about self-discipline, about mental and emotional discipline, and you know, you could say I was being lazy about taking care of myself financially, but I can tell you it was a rigged system, and that some part of me knew it was fake and rigged. The so-called cost of living, for example, and that what's at stake is at a more at looking again, taking a step back and looking at the big picture is humanity's enslavement, and my personal work in this is to try to help people to get real with the divine and get real with their soul and get real with the real masters who were here a long time before the Dracos and Anunnaki did all their experimenting and hybridizing with us. Okay, so but all of that can be inside when some subject matter, such as all these things. A lot of people, they don't want to have anything to do with me as soon as they heard me bring up aliens or ETs. As soon as you bring up these subjects, they become terrified. It's a holographic insert. They can't deal with you. It's kind of sad because that's what's controlling them subconsciously. So, but The hidden fears can show up in all survival, ideation, um, and control based behavior. Like if they're a control freak, or their mom or their best friend's a control freak, whipping their ass, so to speak, when they're under duress, like when people sign a ticket, the cops, gonna harass them or lock them up or beat them if they don't sign it or whatever. People will write under duress. Well, you see, um, your hidden fears can control you when you're under duress. Okay, extreme stress. Again, the disrespectful beings who think that we are their food source and slaves, as well as simply your subconscious, other parasitical things in your subconscious can easily kind of control you, manipulate you, and keep you disrespectful on the soul level to yourself when you're extremely stressed out. And I see that every day in Santa Cruz. I mean, of course, when people are on meth, it's easy to see it in them, but just people struggling to survive too. Road rage. Um, It'll be really obvious with people who took the experiment. I can't warn you guys enough times, man. I'm not trying to scare you, but every one of their hidden fears, if they took this grand Jim Jones Lemmings, I mean, experiment. It's really sad, but it could really easily amplify. And I'm sure it probably, there's probably 96% chance it's going to amplify their fears, like having that plane ticket canceled. You just press their buttons. So those people who are, control freaks or suffer from NPD, they could probably manipulate those who are not interested in ascending into Christ consciousness. In reality, or manipulative people could probably manipulate those around them. I shouldn't say that because I don't want to give them the ideas, but I wouldn't like to think they're watching this. But whereas you'd hope, I would like to think that people such as myself could influence them not to do violence or manipulative or cruel and harmful behaviors, but I've experienced otherwise, sadly. Whereas, regardless of professed faith, a person in touch with the real Christos always shows their faith, often in calmness, when they could handle, like they could handle being in the eye of the storm with perfect faith in the will of the inner Christ. They usually always have the discipline of faith, like a cat. Their skills in maintaining their faith in the Christ, the true Christ, and their respectful guardian angels almost always will help them land on their feet like a cat. Um, but even with them, with anyone, as soon as a hidden fear shows up, it's always going to test the faith. It's going to bring up that part we don't want to see. I do it too. I'm not perfect. I've never claimed to be perfect. But if I do not practice what I preach with this, if I don't challenge myself, I won't become a better person. I will never have reproduce and have a child. I will never even have a girlfriend if I don't leave the habits I'm in now that prevent that from being a possibility. You see, even if that means obeying again, not being a hypocrite at all, reclaiming my friendliness. I mean, some of these videos I've literally made for myself as well as for you. So, because the second coming, the age of Aquarius, is about sharing. So now I'm going to read a few poems I wrote before. This is before the lockdown here. 12/19/2019. We mostly work our asses off and or sit and whine and moan and complain that we're all alone on this big earth. In this psychically vampiric yet physically beautiful and inspiring environment of great worth, loving and hating, plotting war and making peace, planning new inventions and ancient reenactments and reinstallations. Humans, like their creators, never quit working, slaving, sexing it up, dreaming and making. We in the U.S. West Coast try to teach ourselves and usually fail because we're so already caught in the hell realms of the hungry ghosts and our worries won't quit. Usually existential threats. What a soul in a human form thinks, feels, and does and gives is all she gets. Soul, moon day, Tuesday morning, blue rays, clear sky, shining through my depression smog, geoengineering bay bog, boss hog archetype, hovering, I am my own entrepreneur, designing myself, selling my riffs to a pay what you want audience. Tickets available, and yet they're not. If you aren't willing to think and feel a little, you'll never hear me. If you are truly open minded, you can join me in the garden of blooming ideas. Sun Two's Artworks. Sun, Tuesday, 10:14, after midnight hours clean. Morning takes it on an infinity and a stone mentality, at least inside of the mind. I can cease and desist everything, renounce all, and die in nirvana small, but that would leave me short sighted, with no visions, live long, instead of living dead. I'm back when I remorso to forego my fears, move toward the shadow of total forgiveness of my ego, letting go of the hand on the clutch mentality, control and judgment, letting God steer and shift the gears in my heart's mansion, smoothly becoming so clear and transparent that I can truly see the morning infinite possibilities in multifaceted, basking, luminous realities of creative, psychedelic, fantastic, and unending aphrodisiacal, glorious, creative artworks. Abandon identity boat ride. Abandon what you thought you are. Throw all of your self concepts and identities into the fire. They are called ID entities for a reason. They're fake IDs. They are your plastic state ID card in titties, ideas of entities. They are your IDs entities. Abandon the beauty you are sure your body is. She will betray you. You might just age. You may get a wrinkle, a gray, or white hair, or you may lose it, or you may lose your mind to disease, or get in an accident. Lose it. All you think you are. Because time doesn't exist, but this boat ride must have ends. If you enjoy this, subscribe, and I'm put more talks, poems, and my book of poetry will come out this summer in PDF and maybe the fall, or maybe by my birthday in print form, most likely. I probably it might be several volumes. I About 5 years ago, I filled up 2 books with poetry, and some of it's pretty decent. So enjoy and have a wonderful day or create a great one.